Today we are going to commence with our academic syllabus of Standard 10. That is the first poem, Where Mind is Without Fear, written by Rabindranath Tagore. Tagore was born in the year 1861 and he passed away in 1941. He is to the Indian subcontinent what Shakespeare is to the English-speaking world. A poet, a playwright, a painter, and an educator, Tagore was also a mystic of great complexity and depth. He was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913. Here's an excerpt from his book Gitanjali. Thou hast made me endless, such is thy pleasure, this frail vessel thou emptiest again and again, and fillest it with ever fresh life. This little flute of a reed thou hast carried over hills and dales, and hast breathed through its melodies eternally new. Where the mind is without fear and head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of the truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand and the dead habit, where mind is forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom. My Father, let my country away. Students, this beautiful poem was originally written in Bengali by Rabindranath Tagore. We shall see what exactly does this prayer. Let's see the summary of the poem we just learned about. It was written during the British reign. The poet wants his countrymen to live fearlessly and get back their self-esteem by standing up for themselves. He wants India to be a country where knowledge is free-flowing and not just the sole prerogative of a few fortunate ones. He envisions a united India that is not divided on the basis of caste, creed, religion, etc. He wishes to see his beloved countrymen to be free from all prejudices and superstitious beliefs. The poet wants his countrymen to be sincere and truthful. He visualizes India as an epitome of perfection, which is the fruit of continuous efforts and hard work of his fellow brethren. He wants his countrymen to think logically and have a clear perception. He does not want reason to get lost in outdated customs and blind superstitions. He appeals to God to lead his country into that heaven where individuals experience freedom in the truest sense, where progressive thoughts translate into actions. He prays to the Almighty to let his country wake up to such an ideal abode of freedom. Dear students, this poem is written in the pre-independence era. The poem is a link between what India is and what the poet wishes it to be. Through the poem, Tagore indirectly hints at the challenges faced by India under the British rule. He wants his motherland to be a heaven of freedom. He wants Indians to enjoy freedom, not just from the shackles of a foreign rule, but religious, moral, social, and intellectual too. He invokes God to guide his country and let it awake from the deep slumber of all that hamper its progress to all that is progressive and positive. So dear students, let's see the figures of speech present in this poem. The line "where mind is without fear and the head is held high" is an ample example of alliteration, as three words head, held and high begin with the same letter H and produce the same sound for a better poetic effect. The second line, "where the world has not been broken up into fragments." This line is also an example of alliteration, as two words "where" and "world" begin with the same letter W and produce the same sound. Another line, "where words come out from the depth of truth," is also an example of alliteration, as two words "where" and "words" begin with the same letter W and produce the same sound. "Where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection." This is an example of personification, as striving is given to human quality of stretching its arms to reach perfection for a better poetic effect. Alliteration, as striving and stretches begin with the letter S and produce its sound for a better rhyming effect. The line, "where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way," is an example of metaphor, as reason is indirectly compared to clear stream for a better poetic effect. The line, "into the dreary desert, sand of dead habit," is an example of metaphor again, as dead habit, that is old rituals and customs, are indirectly compared to the desert sand. It is also an example of alliteration, as dreary and desert begin with the same letter D and produce the same sound. Next line, "where the mind is led forward by thee." It is an example of apostrophe, as a direct address has been made to God by the poet for a better poetic effect. The last example that I will be quoting here is, "into that heaven of freedom, my father, let my country awake," is an example of apostrophe, as a direct address is made to God by the poet for a better poetic effect. It is also synecdoche, as country, whole country stands for the countrymen, that is part. Thank you. That's all. If you have any doubt, then feel free to get your doubts clarified in the following day during the Google Meet session.